everyone. Thank you for being here. Yes.
Yeah, Coney Island.
Coney Island is open for business. New York City, can you feel it? You feel it? Businesses are reopening. Hundreds of workers are right here on Coney Island's boardwalk serving customers. My family's on the way here. We're going to ride the cyclone. When I say we, probably not everyone in my family, because some of my family members are quite small, and that would be some shoddy parenting or some shoddy height rule enforcement on the part of whoever's managing the cyclone. But thrilled to be here. And Coney Island's going to have a new roller coaster this summer, the Phoenix. Very exciting. Coney Island's going to have a minor league baseball team that's going to play 120 games here. It's going to help boost the local economy. I teamed up with City Council member Mark Traeger, who's a great guy who represents this district, to call for rules to reopen Coney Island back in February. And I'm thrilled that the legislators in Albany then put out those guidelines, and that's why we're here today, celebrating Coney Island's reopening. So thank you, Councilman Mark Traeger. And you can see people are walking around. There's a lot of room, masks, social distancing. It's very, very safe. I'm getting vaccinated this weekend, which is, I'm sure, going to add to the feeling of confidence that I have. And I'm sure as more people get vaccinated, they're going to feel the exact same way. So thrilled to have Coney Island open here today. Thrilled to ride the cyclone with my family. We're going to have a great time. I recommend the hot dogs. What else can one say about the greatness of Coney Island? The People's Playground. Thank you. Happy to take some questions.
What would you do as mayor to bring back Coney Island? I mean, in the future, not just this campaign.
Well, we need to continue to invest in attractions here in Coney Island. I talked to some small business owners, and they're pumped to try to send a message that Coney Island's open for business and families. Certainly, the city, I don't think you all caught this, but we are going to invest $100 million per year minimum on promoting New York City tourism under my administration. The fact is that tourists generate $40 billion plus in revenue for New York City every year in a good year, and now we have to invest for those tourists to come back. And you can bet that a lot of those tourists are going to come right here to Coney Island, because this is one of the principal attractions of New York City. So we're going to invest in Coney Island. We're going to invest in getting people back to New York City to spend time, spend their money, create memories. That's what New York City's for.
What's your reaction to the budget agreement in Albany, and do you see this as a two-person race?
I am thrilled with the budget agreement in Albany. We just got to make sure New York City gets some of that Albany money. I can't doubt. But the budget agreement has a lot of tremendous stuff in it. Certainly, I was thrilled with the aid for schools, the legalization of marijuana, which has been part of those negotiations. There are a lot of really positive things about the budget negotiation. The excluded fund that's going to get money to undocumented immigrants that right now have been excluded from some of the aid packages. Really thrilled that the legislators in Albany were able to hammer it out. To your question, Katie, about whether there's a two-person race, I don't see it that way. But I'm certainly very focused on our campaign and getting out a positive vision to New Yorkers about what we can do to improve our way of life as quickly as possible.
How do you see it?
So I'm very, very focused on our campaign and what we can do to get our message out. So if you ask me, like, how many, people I think about, I genuinely just focus on one campaign, and that's ours.
What's your order at Nathan's?
Sorry?
What's your order at Nathan's?
My order at Nathan's is a large hot dog with ketchup and mustard. And ordinarily you end up putting the ketchup and mustard on yourself, so it would really just be a large hot dog. But I don't get the relish or sauerkraut. I've never really been able to figure out sauerkraut. You know what I mean? I'm a little sauerkraut dubious. I'm sauerkraut skeptical.
This is a community that was devastated by Hurricane Sandy. During Hurricane Sandy, and what exactly do you think New York City could do entirely to make sure they were more resilient to another storm like that?
This community was among those devastated by Hurricane Sandy. We need to do more to make our shoreline and our lower lying communities more resilient. And this is going to be one of the big opportunities from the $2 trillion infrastructure package that Joe Biden and Congress are now negotiating, because I believe tens of billions of dollars are going to get spent right here in New York City, and a lot of that has to be spent on preparing for the impact of climate change. We can see very clearly that dozens of people lost their lives during Hurricane Sandy, and that is going to recur at some point. So we need to spend that money now, and it's going to generate, if we do it right, hundreds of thousands of jobs at a time when New York City really needs that activity. I also want to tell a personal story. I had dinner last night with a journalist, and we compared notes about Hurricane Sandy because my wife Evelyn actually gave birth to our older son on the night of Hurricane Sandy, and she was somewhat premature. And then the journalist said that she also felt like the baby wanted to come out on Hurricane Sandy because of the pressure change. Apparently there were like a lot of babies born that night because when there's a massive pressure change, then like women. So the night of Hurricane Sandy, I was in a hospital on what's now Mount Sinai West, becoming a dad. So Hurricane Sandy is always very much emblazoned in my mind. We were just south of where people lost power, so there were patients coming down from other neighborhoods to the hospital. Not just a random Hurricane Sandy story, but you know.
There's been a crazy violence in the city and time. I'm just curious, like, what is your plan to address this, like, unrest? Some say might be caused by economic.
Oh, there are a lot of things we have to do to bring down crime rates and improve the sense of safety that people have walking the street or taking the subway. But I agree with what you just said, which is that streets that are well lit with businesses open and lots of pedestrians are much safer than dark streets where the lights are out. Empty subway cars are a lot less safe than subway cars with dozens of riders, where frankly, like, people's behavior will be much more stabilized, even if they were to have a negative impulse. So the economic recovery and improving public safety go hand in hand. I'm laser focused on trying to get our economy up and running as quickly as possible, but there are things that we can do specifically where public safety are concerned to try and improve things, and we're going to have a plan with some of those measures out in the next number of days.
There's been reports that there are homeless being housed in hotels all across Manhattan, and that's leading to a surge in violence in the city. What is your plan with those homeless upstairs?
Yeah, let's go, baby!
You like it?
One love.
Brother, appreciate you. We need to find more sustainable housing for people who are struggling in terms of shelter. And just 2 nights ago, I'm losing track of what day of the week it is. 2 nights ago, I was at a supportive housing forum where we talked about the need to develop more supportive housing. This has been one problem that's arisen from the mayor and the governor, frankly, not being on the same page, where you need the state to help develop the pipeline of supportive housing. That's where people who are struggling with sheltering, but also who may have mental health problems or substance abuse problems need to be. They need to be in environments that are actually built to support their needs. So I've committed to building thousands of new supportive housing units as quickly as possible. I think converting some of the empty hotels could be an opportunity to help speed that process up. But that has to be one of our big goals. I've also committed to reducing street homelessness by more than 50% in my first term. There's no reason why we should accept so many people struggling on the streets of New York. It's bad for them, it's bad for the city. And so the way that we can build up capacity and also get people into better environments is to not just develop supportive housing, but also increase the number of safe haven beds and increase the number of psych beds, which have gone down 14% over the last number of years in New York City, even as the needs have gone way up. So there are a lot of things we need to do to try and get people into better environments.
Thank you, everyone.
One more question.
We gotta wrap. I'm so sorry.
I'll talk about this.
How do you feel about that? What would you like to say to New Yorkers who lost such an idol?
I just saw the news of DMX's passing, and before I came here to talk to you all, I was watching videos of some of his concerts. And there was a video I saw of him performing in a crowd that looked like tens of thousands. He was in his prime. And I looked at the timeline, and I realized that he was cresting in the late 90s and early 2000s, which is some point right after I moved to New York City. Like, I remember DMX being the person who sang some of the anthems of my youth, of my formative years here in New York City. It's a terrible passing. He's touched so many lives. I did not know him personally, but he feels like one of the most prominent artists that came out of the New York area really during my lifetime. We're all going to miss him, and I hope that people reflect on what he's meant to so many people.
Do you have a favorite DMX song?
The song I was watching was like the Rough Riders anthem, so I'd have to say that was my favorite. But there were a bunch. He was also in a bunch of movies I saw because I liked really bad action movies, and he was in a lot of bad action movies. I was thinking Cradle to the Grave, and there was another one that took place in a prison. The name escapes me. We love you, DMX. I don't mean like bad as in, you know what I mean, like good bad action movies, like action movies that were hit the target, and I was very, very much the target during that era. Thank you all. Appreciate you all.
Thank you, everyone. Cheers, man.
Oh yeah, cheers.
And the city bought back pieces of land, but they rented it out to Zamperla, for $100,000 a year. And so now they have control of all of these shops on the boardwalk.
I understand.
So there's a shop like Lola's that's getting priced out. So
One thing I do want to say is I'm a pro-building person. Like I want us to be able to develop.
Yeah.
But we have to be able to build and develop in a way that balances the concerns of the community.
Right.
And does it in a way that doesn't change the integral character of the community.
Right.
So you have my word that as mayor, I will do everything we can to integrate the concerns of the community into whatever projects we take.
That's great to hear, because the small business owners, it seems like they don't have much support, when it comes to the amusement area here.
Yeah.
And then they're separated from the Mermaid Avenue businesses, which need a whole different conversation.
Yeah, completely. And the character of Coney Island is so distinct. I mean, it would be a tragedy if this character were changed by, frankly, just rampant residential real estate development.
Of course,
Yeah.
Tom's right here is actually struggling. They can't even do in-person seating because they actually saw a rent increase right before the pandemic started. So a place like Lola Star, her rent increased over 400%. And if it wasn't for the moratorium, she'd be out. So she's able to stay open, but she's worried about her business. So, I just wanted to bring it up and hope you have you, Kenny.
He's totally
He's awesome. He's awesome. We're
He's
definitely gonna vote.
Definitely gonna win. I'm voting for him 100%. Hold on, let me put my mask up. Yeah, 100%. He's gonna win the ticket.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, is this your first time voting, or is this have you voted before?
No, it's gonna be our first
Yeah,
time.
it's our first time.
First time voters?
Yes.